Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Here's a question you've probably never asked yourself. Am I wealthy or am I just rich? Now, like I said, I don't think anybody has ever really sat around and asked themselves this question, but this was a recent title of an MSN article that I read, and if you dig a little deeper, you do find that there is a distinction between the two, even if they sound somewhat similar, and knowing the distinction might change how you approach your financial future. When I was reading this article, there was one line that stopped me in my tracks. According to a Federal Reserve survey, the average American's net worth is now just over $1 million. The first thought when seeing that is, hold up, that can't be right. The average American is worth $1 million, so I had to double check. And truth be told, according to the most recent survey of consumer finances from the Federal Reserve, the average American's net worth is just north of $1 million. Now, I think we all know that averages can be kind of misleading because there are incredibly high net worth individuals who are bringing that average up. So it's probably more appropriate to look at the median. And when we look at the median, we see that the median net worth of a typical American is $193,000, and that sounds a little bit more realistic. It's worth noting that these numbers are reported across all age groups and all income and net worth individuals. Still, this does raise an intriguing question. What's the real difference between being rich and being wealthy? Financial advisors are quick to point out that there is a distinction between these two, between being rich and being wealthy, but it's not tied to a specific dollar amount. It's more about how you manage your money and what that money represents to you. So let's break it down. But before we dive into what financial advisors say is the distinction between the two, I'm curious, what do you think is the difference between being rich and being wealthy? Do you think there's a difference? Do you think it's tied to a dollar amount, or is it not tied to a dollar amount? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. Often the connotation of rich tends to come from a stance of income. Someone who is rich might have a high income. This can allow them to make luxury purchases and have really nice things and have a really nice lifestyle. But having a high income doesn't guarantee financial security. If you have a really high income coupled with really high expenses, that can impede your ability to build wealth. Lifestyle inflation can absolutely hamper your ability to build wealth over time. Let's say someone has an income of $400,000, an income that I think we could all agree is considered a high income. But if at the same time, this person has $400,000 in expenses for the year, at the end of the day, they have nothing left to show for this. They have a high income, maybe they're considered rich, maybe they buy really nice things, but they're not building wealth if they spend it all. Just as easily, we could have someone who has a very high income, but at the same time, they're very highly leveraged. They have a lot of debt. Maybe they have a really high mortgage or auto loans or consumer debt. So this keeps them tied to their job. They have to keep earning that income. They don't really have anything in the way of freedom. On the other hand, wealthy tends to imply long-term financial security and stability. Having wealth tends to refer to assets, think investments or real estate or businesses that can grow over time, grow and provide you an income. If you're wealthy, you might have the ability to sustain your lifestyle even if you're not working. There seems to be this shift from earned income to creating sustainable income streams and a focus on net worth. For instance, someone who has $5 million in investments, those investments alone could safely generate $200,000 in annual income passively and enable this person to have a lot of really great life choices. Now, in this example, I did use a relatively high net worth, $5 million, to talk about wealth. But there's nothing special about that number. I'm not saying that you need $5 million in order to be considered wealthy. What it comes down to is what your expenses look like. So if you have a net worth that can generate an income stream to cover all of your expenses, in that situation, I would consider you wealthy. It all comes down to what your expenses look like. It comes down to your personal situation. Because once you have an income stream or a net worth that can cover all of your daily or essential expenses, that's when financial freedom really starts to kick in. The primary distinction is that wealthy tends to mean you have more lasting money and more financial independence because you have a net worth or sustainable income sources that allow you this freedom. Rich tends to refer to money now, money that could be more temporary in nature and is more reliant on active income streams. Wealth tends to give you more freedom from work, whereas rich may not. If we look at it from this perspective, I think it's safe to say that most of us would strive to be wealthy versus merely rich. And the easiest way to bridge the gap here is to keep your spending in check, to live within your means and make sure you're investing for your future. Having a high income is not a requirement or a prerequisite for building wealth. Yes, when you have a larger income, it can be easier to set aside a larger dollar amount to put towards investments and make it easier to build wealth, but it's not essential. So long as you're living well below your means or within your means and always setting something aside towards your investments and allowing compounding the time it needs, decades, to build wealth, you can absolutely build a nest egg that can support you, that can cover all of your expenses, which is really when wealth kicks in. I do think one thing you notice as a common theme of the wealthy is that they do tend to focus on having multiple income streams. I do think having multiple income streams can make it much easier to build wealth. And I do think putting yourself in a position where you're not wholly reliant on one single income stream puts you in a position of greater financial security. I am someone who's somewhat risk averse. Actually, I don't know if it's fair to say that I'm somewhat risk averse. It's probably more appropriate to say I'm very risk averse. I've always had 2 income streams. I've always worked 2 jobs. And this was based off advice that my mom gave me when I was younger. She said that a household should have 2 income streams. That way you can save one and live off the other. And in defense of my mom, she was speaking about a married couple in that you would have 2 income earners, and this would help to alleviate a lot of the financial stress on a household. However, I internalized this message to mean that I myself should have 2 income streams, that I should live off one and save the other. So I've always done that ever since I've been in the workforce. And so for about 20 years now, there was actually a period of time, a year or 2, where I had 3 jobs, and that was very stressful and probably not the best for my mental health, but I do believe in having multiple income streams. Beyond that, I would like to say that I tend to think of it that there is 4 main decisions that if you get these right, your road to wealth will be much easier. That's not to say that other decisions don't matter, but I think these are the key ones. The first choice is your career. Choosing a career that allows for great earning potential is a huge bonus. Different careers can have different earning potentials, and aligning yourself with one that has a higher earning potential can be a really beneficial choice. I do want to repeat that having a high income is not a necessary prerequisite to building wealth, but it is important to keep in mind that there's only so many cuts we can make to our budget. At a certain point, you get to the bare bones and you don't want to make any more cuts. However, on the income side, there really is no limit to what income you can earn. So I would align myself in a position where I can increase my earnings. So in choose a career that is fulfilling, choose a career that you enjoy, and choose a career that has good earning potential. Another really big choice is your partner in life. Who you choose to marry, yes, is about love, but it's a decision that is going to have a really big financial impact on your life. If you can choose a partner who has similar financial goals to you, it's going to be much easier to achieve those goals. On the other hand, if you have a partner who isn't interested in finances or lives beyond their means or has a YOLO mentality, it can be really difficult to reach your financial goals. It can kind of feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and taking 1 step back if you have someone who's actively working against you. That could make life difficult. We also have to keep in mind that if someone gets divorced, that can be devastating on your financial situation. Watching your net worth be cut in half can be truly devastating. So all of this is to say, choose your partner wisely and your life will be easier in almost every single way. The home you choose will absolutely have an impact that ripples throughout your entire life. So many people end up buying a home that's at the very tippy top of their budget, and then they find themselves stretched incredibly thin because they failed to account for all of the expenses that come with home ownership. One of the best decisions you can ever do is to buy a home that is well within your budget, or even on the lower end of your budget. It allows you to have this breathing room to create financial freedom. Truly one of the smartest financial decisions you can ever make is to choose to purchase a modest home. I love the general rule of thumb of keeping your housing expenses to 25% of the household income. This leaves so much room in your budget to do other things. And the exact same thing can be said about vehicles. If you're willing to buy a modest vehicle and drive that vehicle until it doesn't want to be driven anymore, that is one of the best financial decisions you can ever make. It is one that will have ripple effects throughout your entire life, because cars come with very hefty price tags and they're depreciating assets. So if you're constantly buying a new car, you will probably likely always have a car payment. So if you buy a vehicle and get that vehicle paid off and then just continue driving it for years and years and years on end, you do yourself and your finances a great service. Cars can easily be $20,000, $30,000, or $40,000 or more, and that is not a decision to be taken lightly. The general rule of thumb that I like is to buy a vehicle outright in cash. I acknowledge that this is not possible for everyone, so the other general rule to follow is 20-4-10. Put 20% down, finance for no more than 4 years, and don't let the vehicle or vehicle-related expenses exceed 10% of your income. Wealth isn't about making big, showy purchases. It's about consistent, smart choices over time. The truth is, anyone can build wealth no matter what their income level. You just have to be intentional with your financial choices. It might take time, it might take decades, but financial freedom is absolutely within reach. Wealth is absolutely within reach, because at the end of the day, it's not really about the amount of money you have in a bank account. It's about what that money allows you to do. The money gives you freedom to live life on your own terms. What are your thoughts about wealth and rich? Leave them in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Now hold up. Bad lighting today. Clouds. I hate when there's like a sunny day with clouds. I either want it to be strictly sunny or strictly cloudy. That's it. I don't want this partly cloudy crap. Messes with my filming. Could somebody put that out there to the climate? Whew. Prerequisite for finishing this sentence. There was a point where I had 3 jobs. That was concerning to my health. If you choose, she's a Pete. Slow it down.